This is going to be very interesting tonight. We've got heavy hitters tonight. We've got Roberta Gould, which is going to be a killer. And I have to share this with you. It's with heavy heart. The string is broken. Last night, Ted Gill did not open. I'm still shaken, but I didn't sleep well last night at all. This British bloke came in and thought it was his territorial imperative to speak first, and he was actually quite good. And I just went, Ted! And Ted goes. And Ted got up and Ted rocked the room. So anyway, the new string continues tonight. Note the time, Robert. Ted Gill.
Maybe a bit sorry by the time this is over. I'm gone existential tonight.
You heard it.
The search for eternals. I return home to the scenes of youth, looking for those things eternal we all need in life. I find the fields plowed up and sprouting a new crop of homes where once grew corn and wheat and oats and cattle fat and well kept. In town, stores where food and all the necessities of life were once sold are all given way to charming shops, purveying novelties of little use, but to satisfy the desire for more. The town seems empty and the countryside overrun with population. Still, on the back roads, fields are plowed and planted as they've been these 100 years and more. The creeks flow, the hills rise, and from a distance, all these new people are invisible. The family too is here, in turmoil and flux among the many parts, but still family and still here. Beneath it all, despite the changes, if one looks low, there are still eternals. I get this magazine, Discover, and it has various articles of science. And this one happened to have two articles. This one article was about ethane, which when cooled to a certain temperature under some pressure becomes solid. And it seems that the floors of the ocean are very cold because cold water sinks and doesn't rise. And there's a great deal of pressure, so there's a lot of this ethanol down there. Ethanol, I keep saying, ethane down there. And they speculate that with the warming of this atmosphere and everything, it could start to melt. And it's a gas, so it would come up into the air. So concerning the end of the world as we know it, we watch the sky with wary eye for the coming of astral doom. But the world's death may be beneath the sea, sealed in a murky tomb. There's few aware of methane there, held by pressure and the cold. Some geologic slip might loose the grip and free tons of methane from the ocean's hold. Tons of methane in the air could cause a flare, a shock to set still more methane free. A flame reaching pole to pole could turn Earth to a coal, a disaster none could flee. And if it didn't burn, methane still could turn Earth's atmosphere up quite high. There's naught to be done when ton on ton of methane escapes into the sky. Well, we realized there'd be a temperature rise. How high it'd be, we still can't gauge. But life on Earth would undergo a rebirth, and we'd enter a brand new geologic age. And this one's worse. The universe, the multiverse, and knowledge. It's speculated by some great minds that there exists a vast multiverse beyond our understanding. By mathematics, these great minds have calculated that this multiverse consists of beyond vast, infinitely large membranes existing in as many as 10 dimensions. These membranes hang in 10 dimensions, stretching up, down, side to side, infinitely off into the distance in separate but parallel sheets. How thick? How distant? How can we know of thickness or distance in 10 dimensions when we are confined here in our own scant 4? These membranes hang like separate but parallel pages in a book, suspended by its spine. They consist of energy and the essence of matter, the building blocks of all of matter, the strings that mathematicians are just beginning to speculate on. They hang there, separate in their infinities but parallel and rippling. It is then speculated, calculated, presumed that 2 of these vast beyond vast membrane sheets, pages, briefly touched. How briefly? Perhaps too briefly to measure by any of our crude instruments. Perhaps for seconds or longer. Who can know what time means in an evanescent spark, as fleeting as a spark thrown off by a campfire in the night, and as meaningless as that vast beyond vast multiverse. But that tiny fleeting spark became our universe, calculated now to be 13.7 billion years old, and to last perhaps twice that yet. Was this the only spark? Do we hang suspended in one or both or between the membranes? We can't know. If there are other sparks from the one or more brushes of the membranes together, can there be contact between these tiny universes in that vast, beyond vast multiverse of membranes? Could they collide like galaxies in our own universe? Or would they meet and combine like soap bubbles on the surface of the membrane? How could anyone know? Could we personally fall across one or more of those 10 dimensions between 2 universes from one to another? The atoms that make up our body self can share one or more electrons by mathematical probability. Could these shared electrons then convey information across one or more of the meager 4 dimensions we have here? Telepathy? Could a piece of one or more of the meager 4 dimensions, or could a piece of matter or a body fall or somehow transit one or more of those 10 dimensions to another point in our 4-dimensional spark universe teleportation? Have you personally known of or experienced some such phenomenon, only to be scorned by the great minds of science? If so, you can now look out through the window of speculation from our tiny spark universe to the vast beyond vast multiverse that contains it, and look such a scorner in the eye and tell him, "You know nothing."